The NBA playoffs are so very interesting, and I know a lot of people want to see Golden State against Phoenix. I expected Memphis to give a little bit more of a push in that series. Losing John Morant could be out for the rest of that series. Thank you, Jordan Poole, for ruining any consistency of that Memphis Grizzlies team. But I know Jordan Poole has claimed that he didn't do it intentionally.
That didn't look like a cheap shot. I don't think so.
He grabbed his knee.
Yeah, he was going for the ball, though. I don't think he was doing anything.
He grabbed his knee, man. How do you go for the ball and grab a knee? Come on, man.
Tough angle.
You're a professional basketball player. You're going to tell me you didn't try to grab his knee to hurt him?
It didn't look like it to me.
Oh, well.
If it was Draymond Green, I could understand, but Jordan Poole, it didn't seem like
Well, maybe you learned from Draymond Green. How's that sound?
Who knows?
We'll go into the Western Conference first because it seems more interesting. And right now, Phoenix is tied 3-3 against a Dallas Mavericks team that nobody thought should be there. Now, Utah was the expected team to come out of that series with the talent that they have, the Donovan Mitchells of the world, the defensive style of game that the Utah Jazz play. They couldn't get over the hump with Dallas. Luka Doncic showed why he's one of the biggest superstars in the NBA. And this series, everybody thought Phoenix was going to breeze right through this series. Not the case. Now, Devin Booker has played in this series. I don't want to hear any excuses if Phoenix gets knocked out by the Dallas Mavericks. Devin Booker has played, and he's played well. The problem with this series is Dallas's bench has outplayed arguably one of the best benches in the NBA, and that's the surprise in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't crazy about Jason Kidd as a coach coming into this.
No, I wasn't either.
He's actually coached very well, too. I think the rotations for Dallas has been very good. They're keeping Phoenix's defense guessing as well. And also their size inside has played well inside. Guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Max Kleber giving some depth and some defense. It was an improved defense for Dallas this year, but still wasn't started as the strength of the team.
And Chris Paul is going to have to really jot down what he is as a player in the playoffs because, yes, he went to the championship last year, but came up short. A lot of people thought with the talent that they had this year, another season together with the talent that they had, even a better team than they were last year with the acquisitions they made throughout the trade deadline and in the offseason, that they were going to be bound championship team this year. Doesn't look like it right now, but if Dallas surprises the world and knocks off Phoenix, I'd be very surprised to see Dallas in the Western Conference Finals, but that's what it shows. By the way, they have a new coach, too. It's not Rick Carlisle running this team anymore. New coach, new style. Very impressed what Dallas has done this year with Jason Kidd, but I still think Phoenix is going to come strong being that they're playing at home. They're one of the best home teams in the NBA and one of the best third quarter teams in the NBA at home, so I expect them to show up.
I just want to throw this out there, not because it's the same circumstances, but when Dallas won their championship, they were a 4 seed.
Golden State and Memphis. Golden State's the better team. Now, Memphis is the number 2 seed. I think losing John Morant really sets the tone of what's going to happen this series. I think it's destined to see Phoenix and the Golden State Warriors face off against one another to see who's going to have the chance to win a championship. Because I think whoever comes out of the Western Conference is going to win the whole thing. I think that's where the talent lies in the league. I think both teams have a tremendous amount of talent. I do believe Phoenix is the better team, but that's what I think all the NBA fans want to see, Speedy.
Yeah, I also think, too, you look at the leadership perspective, Golden State has that with their veterans, Phoenix has that. You kind of lose that with Memphis losing John Morant because they're mostly a younger team. They have a couple veteran guys that help, but it's still a lot of even their top depth guys are all young all at once. I would probably give the edge to Golden State as well, but their depth for Memphis played well. They had 7-8 guys scoring in double figures in the game 5. John Morant plays, they're up 3-2 in this series, I think, because those close games go their way.
As far as the Eastern Conference is concerned, I don't think anybody was surprised that Miami knocked off the Philadelphia 76ers. James Harden doesn't show up in game number 6. He showed up in game 5, doesn't show up in game number 6, and that's why I believe Philadelphia got knocked off by a Miami Heat team that has a tremendous amount of depth. With the acquisition of Victor Oladipo for the playoffs, it definitely has given him a little bit of a spark. Victor has not played well in the Philadelphia series, but I still think that Victor is a big piece. If Miami has a chance to knock off Milwaukee or Boston or even go into the NBA championship where they're going to have to face off Phoenix or Golden State or maybe even Dallas, who knows, they're going to need Victor Oladipo. And I think Miami getting a rest, does it help them? In basketball, I think rest does hurt you. Miami is also coming off with significant injuries from Jimmy Butler and Victor Oladipo. So I think that all the time that they need to get healthy would be very important. I'm not surprised Miami is heading to the Eastern Conference Finals. As far as Milwaukee and Boston, this is going to a Game 7. Milwaukee going back to Boston, that's a lot of pressure. No Chris Middleton. It definitely has affected him in this series offensively. And I do believe that the refs have been on Milwaukee's side throughout this series. Now, if anybody could do it, it's the Greek Freak, it's Giannis and his team get over the hump and knock off Boston in Boston. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Boston has been destined to play Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think a lot of people would love to see the 1 and the 2 play against one another, where I thought Phoenix and Golden State would be the best Western Conference Finals series, and I think Miami and Boston, Speedy, would be the best Eastern Conference series.
Yeah, there'd be a defensive juggernaut, but also a depth juggernaut, too, if those two teams were to face off. Eric Spoelstra is probably the best defensive mind in terms of coaches in the NBA, and the Celtics with Udoka, the way they could play defense, too. And if that matchup does end up happening, it'll be also a rematch from 2 years ago in the bubble. So they have a little bit of bad blood going for them. Fiery guys with Marcus Smart and Jimmy Butler going at it, too. By the way, I love when Jimmy Butler, before he went to the locker room, said to the Sixers, y'all traded Tobias for me, or something like that, which was pretty funny. No love lost in Philly for Jimmy Butler, but yeah, that'll be definitely an interesting series. I think going back to what you were saying about the rest factor of the NBA, I think Miami's the one team that might be not fazed by it because they play so differently every game. It's always a different star coming through, one of their 3 veteran guys. You mentioned Oladipo was kind of up and down. So is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler goes off, then Oladipo will do it the next game. It's really the depth and the system really for Miami. Whereas the Celtics, if one of their stars is off, we haven't seen them overcome that yet. So I think that kind of advantage will still go to Miami. And then if Milwaukee does end up advancing in the game 7, Giannis is the best player. He hasn't had a bad game yet. So it doesn't really faze them no matter what circumstances he's in.
I haven't seen Milwaukee lose back-to-back games in this series. So a lot of people would say there's a sign there. I don't. I think Boston will be the team that's going to knock them off. I predict it's Boston and Miami, and I predict it's Phoenix and Golden State moving forward in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. But it's been a sensational playoff right now watching the NBA as well as hockey. We have to talk a little baseball, and this baseball season has just been fun to watch. The New York Mets have been dominant in almost every sector of baseball. Their defense has gotten better as the season slowly has progressed for them. They're getting offense from Lindor. They're getting offense from Pete Alonso. He had 2 bombs in a game this past week, over 20 RBIs. And they're getting offense all over the board for this team that has just been remarkable offensively sound. And as far as their bullpen has been fairly great. Diaz has been the best or second best closer in baseball. Good middle relief. They've been very fun to watch as well. And this rotation with Max Scherzer, McGill, Bassett, even without Jacob deGrom, they've been sensational too. So, Speedy, there's nothing bad to say about this Mets team.
Yeah, this pitching depth has been very good. Drew Smith, unfortunately, finally allowed his first run, but beyond that, he's been pitching fantastic, .63 ERA. Taijuan Walker this week had his first great start of the season, which is good to see if he could get back going. You're right about the offense, too. They're really deep. Alonso leads the National League in RBIs with 20 right now, has had a lot of moonshots this week, and just getting production all around. When one guy's slumping, which Lindor finally has gotten out of it, other guys have been able to pick it up, and that's what a good offense needs. The Mets have depth finally, and hitting with scoring position, which they haven't had for years.
As far as the Yankees concerned, all of you Yankee fans should be very excited. They have the best record in baseball. Everything they're doing is just great. And right now, for all the Yankee fans that were running out Brian Cashman and running out Aaron Boone, well, who's laughing now? Aaron Boone right now is coaching and managing the best team in baseball, where everybody thought, with not the big acquisitions where everybody expected them to bring Correa or somebody else in the offseason. They didn't do any of that. They brought in other pieces. They brought back Rizzo, who's been sensational for them. Offered a guy like Aaron Judge the money that they offered. He decided to decline it. We'll see what they do in the offseason with Aaron Judge. But all the different things that they made and the moves that they made. Nasty Nestor, who's been sensational really since last year, since they brought him back to the team. He's been sensational. Garrett Cole, his last 3 games, has been dominant, giving no earned runs. This rotation, where everybody thought that this rotation was weak, this has been the best rotation in the American League and one of the best rotations in baseball. And this bullpen, which has been the best bullpen in baseball really since the beginning of the season, is just looking better and better. They're so good they had to send somebody down that has been pitching good in the bullpen. Schmidt, they sent back down to the minor leagues, which nobody thought he should have been sent down, but they're so good and they have so much depth right now, they didn't need him in the bullpen. So it's amazing where the Yankees are right now. They're the best defensive team in baseball. Yes, and right now, if the season were to end, Aaron Boone is manager of the year. So eat your heart out, Yankee fans.
Yeah, and you're seeing the modern identity of the Yankees really started to take over. Their bullpen was good for a while because of the big names, the routine at the 7, 8, 9 at the end of the game that was just so locked down. Now it's different. Now they have guys pitching in so many different spots. Yes, Chapman's still closing, but beyond that, everyone else is pitching in so many different roles. Clay Holmes has pitched phenomenally. Middle of games, end of games. You have guys like Michael King, 1.35 ERA, just brilliant in so many different roles. And the starting pitching, too. They're getting good length. They're getting good consistency. Garrett Cole's finally getting it going again, drops his ERA to 2.95. That's a great sign for a Yankees team that really needs that kind of pitching depth and a modern identity now. You don't rely on one pitcher, and you don't pay all these pitchers these big money. They're still have to eat the Zach Britton contract for now, but beyond that, they're trying to get young and get young all at the right time. As far as Aaron Judge, still playing well. 299, 12 home runs, 27 RBIs, and Stanton, 10 home runs, 30 RBIs. So their big bombers are getting it going. Anthony Rizzo still hitting well. This is deep, too. Depth is never a problem when you have to send a guy.
They have 3 guys that can win MVPs.
Yeah.
Anthony Rizzo, Giancarlo Stanton, and Aaron Judge. All 3 players are playing great baseball. Giancarlo Stanton's getting hot right now as we speak. We've seen Giancarlo Stanton. He could go on a tear for 4 weeks where you can't strike him out, and he's bombing home runs. And Aaron Judge, for like the last past month, he had 1 home run. He hit like 11 home runs in about 15 games. It's unbelievable what this team is doing. Offensively, they can't strike out. They have been as good offensively as any team in baseball. And anybody that says that the Yankees aren't playing good baseball or dominant baseball, well, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Sal Licata over there at WFAN needs to start watching the Yankees a little bit more, because I don't know what you're watching to say that the Yankees aren't playing as good as the Mets. It's a ridiculous statement. Anyway, Speedy, what do we got?
Crunch time!
It's time for Crunch Time.
Read the time. Gotta see the pitch.
All right, let's start with Game 7 of the Penguins and the Rangers. Buy or sell? The Rangers will still come back and win, even if Sidney Crosby does come back.
I'm going to buy it. I can't see the Rangers losing game number 7 with a third-string goalie. Domingue gave a bad goal up where he had a chance to win it in Pittsburgh and take it to overtime. He's been horrible. Shesterkin hasn't been any better. But I think the Rangers are the better team. Going home definitely gives them a little boost. Give me the Rangers. I will buy it.
I'm going to sell it. If he doesn't come back, I think the Rangers will win, because I think the Rangers just getting more face-offs as a whole and being able to move their offense a lot more. They're getting smarter shots. With Crosby on the ice, their defense has been a lot tighter, and that first line's been tighter. So I'm going to sell if Crosby does come back. So buy or sell? Both the Suns and the Bucks will win their Game 7s.
Sell. I'm not buying that. I think Phoenix will win. I don't know if the Bucks are going to win. I can't trust that the Bucks are going to do it in Boston. I think Boston has been a very good home team, and Boston really has the momentum going in after game number 6. So I'm going to sell that.
I'm going to buy it. I think the pressure's on the Celtics. I think Giannis, the best player in this series, really is going to take over in this one. I think the depth comes in strong. Boston fans, you talked about it a couple of weeks ago. They'll put pressure on their teams too, and it's going to be a harsh home crowd, a lot of pressure. So I think the Bucks get it done. I don't know if they'll beat Miami after that, but they get it done here. All right, buy or sell? Both Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, who are top 5 in RBIs, will stay that way at the end of June.
I think they will. I think their offense has just been sensational. Their schedule is definitely easier than a lot of different teams' schedules. I think they'll keep the pace up. I expect both players to have 100 RBIs going into the last month of the season.
I'm going to buy it too. I think there's a lot of teams that are banged up right now in the American League that normally had the potent offenses. The Blue Jays have a couple injuries, the White Sox. Teams you were expecting. Mike Trout might throw a monkey wrench into that, but there's not really any obvious threats, so I will buy it as well. All right, buy or sell? Kayvon Thibodeaux will lead the Giants in sacks this season.
I am going to sell that. I know he's a rookie. I know a lot of Giant fans are so excited to see this kid. He still has to learn the speed of the game. He's all about his endorsements and his sponsorships, and I don't think football is number 1 on his list. But I expect him to show up one way or another this year. I just don't know if he's going to show up on the board as the sack leader for the New York Giants, so I'm going to sell that.
I'm going to sell it, but for a different reason. It's more of the scheme, because it's a complex scheme right away. Wink Martindale comes from the Ravens. They love to blitz. They love to rotate pass rushers. So I think they'll do a lot of surprise things. I think it'll be an interior guy that leads. Probably either Lawrence or Williams will lead the team. So I'm going to sell it. All right, buy or sell? Despite a lot of people slandering this, Nikola Jokic should have won the MVP.
I don't know why anybody is slandering this. Nikola Jokic is playing for a Nuggets team that didn't have Porter, didn't have Murray, and the fact that anybody could say that Embiid deserves it. Embiid had a great season. Nobody's taking a shot. I would take Giannis over Embiid. Jokic has been the best player in the NBA the last 2 years. Anybody crying that Jokic won is stupid. This guy is the best center in the NBA. It's not even an argument. So I am absolutely going to buy it. Take that to the bank, buddy.
I am absolutely buying it too. This is the first player in NBA history with 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists in a season. This is a guy that dealt with their 2 best players getting hurt all year in a tough Western Conference. So I don't know what you're saying he doesn't deserve. Why? He doesn't play as good of defense as Embiid? Embiid only led in rebounds by a rebound. Okay. He led in shot blocks. And then you got Giannis. Giannis has a little more depth around him throughout the year, even losing Middleton. So even though the strong second half, I think he absolutely deserved it. I am going to buy it as well. All right, buy or sell? If Peter Laviolette is fired by the Capitals, he will be a New York Islanders head coach.
I believe it. I think it works. I think it works for the Islanders and what they're looking for as a head coach. And why not another Washington coach head over there to the island? He's been there before. The Islanders should have never fired. I do buy that.